care of. And they said, no, no, we're not doing this till after the election. We're not going to have Elon Musk, who's a Trump supporter, get any admiration or kudos for doing something like this. So they've left them up there for 8 months. And in addition to leaving them up there, that means leaving the NASA astronauts that were already there, because we can't send a ship up to bring back just the NASA astronauts. We'd have to bring back all four, and we don't want them to have that victory. So we're going to leave them all up there.
Spaceman bad.
Oh, I don't. Yet we're the ones that are playing politics. That's what I don't understand. The conservatives, Donald Trump, are the ones that are trying to play politics with everything. And here's an opportunity, once again, for us to do, for Elon Musk to do something good. And because they just don't want him to get a win, they decide we're going to leave him up there.
You know, I did hear that when SpaceX finally gets to Mars, Elon Musk's program finally gets to Mars, that he's going to rename it Mars-a-Lago.
He should.
He should. I definitely agree.
He might do that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Plant a big MAGA. Plant a big MAGA flag.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's funny, but as much as the left absolutely hates Elon Musk, they forget he was kind of lefty in a lot of ways, right up until California told him that he couldn't work during COVID. They started blasting him, and he's like, message received. And he has made it their freaking problem ever since.
Yeah, well, it's your fault, Craig. It's your fault. California did this. And listen, much like, you know, Trump was the darling of the left until he said, I'm a Republican. Yeah,
right.
He started to show his conservative views. It's the same way they've treated Elon Musk.
Well, the truth is, and as I've said, people want to make it out like Trump is this right-wing conservative, and he's not. He's a pragmatist. Elon Musk, they want to talk about, oh, he's a Nazi. He has been left of center most of his life. The reality is the Democratic Party has swung so far to the left that they've taken people who are probably more centrist. You know, they could be on the right or the left, depending on what issue you're talking about. And they've forced them over into the right. I mean, think about it. If you can define what a woman is, you're a right-wing wacko, according to Democrats.
It's Craig. They're so far to the left at this point, and we've talked about this. It's the elected folks there.
Right.
You know, they're so far to the left that they can't applaud for a brain cancer survivor young teen. They can't.
Yeah. Oh, that riles me. I mean, this is for all the talk about, you know, well, we need to find common ground and we need to work together. And if there's anything in this world we should be able to rally behind, it's a kid who beat brain cancer who wants to grow up to be a cop.
Well, that's that. Now there's your problem. First of all,
that's the problem.
He's a black kid who wants to be a cop. And, you know, the wokedivists cannot have that. We cannot have young black men wanting to grow up and be law enforcement.
Right, because it's important that cops remain as racist as humanly possible for political points. And if black people become cops, they might not be racist enough.
There you go. See, that's how it works. That's how it works.
Apparently, yeah.
Points, yeah.
It is beyond frustrating to try and rationalize with the way the positions of some of these folks, which, by the way, brings me to mind about the piece that you wrote, Tom, over at Bearing Arms about gun researchers being awarded for victim blaming. I wonder if you could share with us a little bit about this story.
Yeah, there's a gun researcher at the University of Colorado Boulder named Stephen Billings, if I remember correctly. And he did a study that supposedly found that people with concealed carry permits were far more likely to have their gun stolen and be the victim of a crime than non-permitted individuals. And he got an award for this. Now, in the process, he tries to make the case that, you know, I'm not saying that they're targeted more, but they're more likely to be targeted. And the whole thing's bizarre. But first of all, he talks about guns being stolen. That, you know, people with concealed carry permits are far more likely to have guns stolen. Well, yeah, if you think about the fact that people who have guns are more likely to have guns stolen than people who don't have guns, sure. I mean, it's like, and all of this was also presented as this is just a general trend. He looked at Charlotte, North Carolina.
So only
That's it.
Charlotte, North Carolina. He
Only
didn't look.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
He didn't look nationally. He
Nope.
didn't even. He didn't even look statewide. He just looked one city,
Right.
one city.
One city that has above average levels of crime,
Mm-hmm.
according to the, nationwide.
Right.
You know, they're above average, which when you consider where some other cities are, where some other communities are, that's fairly high. And it's Charlotte, North Carolina. That's not indicative of anything except what happens in Charlotte, North Carolina. And there was also no controls put in place to how like how many of these people got concealed carry permits because they live in high crime areas.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, guess what? If you live in a high crime area, you're more likely to be a victim of a crime, whether you have a permit or not.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was a, I couldn't find everything about the study. What I did find, the methodology didn't really impress me. Um, and again, this guy got an award for saying, hey, people who have guns are more likely to get them stolen than people who don't.
My experience with some of these gun researchers is, first of all, most of them tend not to be actual researchers. A lot of them tend to be medical professionals who start doing research. They don't, and they look at everything from like the way they would study a disease in terms of how to eradicate it. And to them, the Second Amendment gun ownership is a disease that they want to cure. So oftentimes, what they do is they go into studies. They've already determined what they want the outcome to be, and so they look at the data that then turns around and supports their end game.
Yep.
It's really dishonest. If you really want to get a good understanding of in particular when it comes to guns or behavior, you need to look at people who more are into the studying people or social scientists, social scientists or economists do a much more accurate job of determining or studying general group behavior
Yeah. Absolutely.
and being
And
more accurate.
and going to what you were saying about them going in with a predetermined uh, outcome in mind, let's think about the Dickey Amendment. This for folks who don't follow gun news, the Dickey Amendment was a law that was put in place that said federal tax dollars could not be spent on gun control advocacy. Um, Turned out there was ways around that we found out through Doge, but that's a different story. Um,
Doge.
but the truth of the matter was that that's all it said. The CDC immediately stopped funding any gun research, citing the Dickey Amendment as the reason. Well, the only reason for that is if you're going into it with a predetermined idea of trying to support gun control advocacy. If you're doing unbiased research, that's research is research. This is what we found. This is what we've discovered. That alone should be enough. But they wanted to use it to justify gun control. The Dickey Amendment says you can't use it to push gun control, and the CDC showed their hands.
Well, and a lot of these entities that now do the research, like the UC Davis Gun Violence Research Center, they do it with the goal of trying to come up with data that will support gun control. That's in the end, that's their goal. It's not to understand it because they don't really do use of force. They don't understand. They don't research self-defense uses of firearm. Not at all. They're just looking for reasons to ban guns.
Look at studies dealing with quote unquote gun suicide. If they say a law reduces, they never look at whether or not a law reduces suicide. They look at whether it reduces gun suicide exclusively. They don't look at did this person then go and find another method for taking their own life. They don't want that because that might show, hey, you know what? It didn't save anyone's life.
Because people tend
Remember
to.
the
Yeah.
the if they had used the scientific method, the actual scientific method, this would work. Remember, scientific methods make the observation, form the hypothesis, make the prediction, conduct the experiment, and then finalize your results. They do it in just like Tom said, in reverse order. They start with the result they want, and then they work backwards to give you the stats that they need to end their result. They use the opposite of the scientific method.
Well,
Yeah,
exactly. They are, instead of being deductive, they're inductive.
Yeah,
Your
there's
vocabulary words of the day.
There's a great example. One of the favorite studies for gun control advocates is one out of Connecticut that looked at the years immediately following their permit to purchase law. And they're like, see, homicides are down. Well, here's what they did. They, instead of comparing it to the years before or anything else, they created a virtual Connecticut that involved some places in California, some in Rhode Island, and some other places. They looked at it for a very short period of time and said, see, it reduced homicides. What happened immediately after the period the study looked at? Homicides went up 40%.
Yeah, because they picked a specific period, and that's what a lot of these studies do. It's crazy how often they do it. Well, one thing that we know that I believe serves as an excellent deterrent of crime, is the death penalty. When someone is put to death, that's one less criminal alive to be able to commit crimes. Well, in South Carolina, they're taking it old school, and for the first time in 15 years, an individual in South Carolina is going to be put to death by firing squad. I don't even need to read the story. I just want to get you guys' reaction. The firing squad is back, baby. What do y'all think?
Now that's a banger of an idea. I regret nothing. No, seriously, I'm like looking at it and I'm thinking about this and I'm like, you could pay off any state debt you have just by like auctioning off the opportunity to be on the firing squad.
Yeah, true, right? True. There's actually, I don't remember the exact number, but there's a number of states that actually do allow firing squads still. It just hasn't been used for a very long time.
Idaho, Utah, and a couple others.
I'm curious, just from the logistics side, curious to see how they do it. But I know how the military does it. The last firing squad death was during World War II. It was Edward Slavic was put to death via firing squad, and they got a task of soldiers or their corrections MPs, and they put like it was 8 or 10 online, and they put blanks in 2 of their rifles, so those 2 would never know if they. So everybody on the line would have no idea if they actually did it. So they gave them some mental plausibility to get out of it if they ever had issues with it later. But I'm curious. Do they do it now where they just put all the rifles in electronic, bench rests and just pull the trigger electronically? That way you don't have to have people. I wonder how they're going to do it.
It's going to be quite interesting. Now, evidently, this is the method that the inmate chose. So I guess they get to choose how they want to do it, and that was still on the books. And so he's like, "Well, okay, well, I'll take a firing squad. I'll give it a shot." Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. All right.
Yeah, it's just wild that's still there, still a thing. But I'm like, like Mike said, you throw some blanks in some of the guns and live rounds in the others, so nobody actually knows who's pulling, who's actually firing a fatal shot.
Well, as expensive as ammo has gotten, I mean, are we really raising? Are we really actually now increasing the cost of executions?
Well, considering the cost of drugs for lethal injection, probably not that. It probably is a bit cheaper than that.
There you go. Big pharma versus the gun industry. Who benefits?
The overtime. Don't forget the overtime factor, because this is government operation. So when these guys go to turn in their rifles to the armory, they're going to deny them 3 times for being dirty. So they're going to have to spend all that overtime recleaning their rifles.
Yeah, but that's just the natural order of things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. All right, folks. Well, hey, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. Okay, let's see. We got a few of these are coming to you from our good friends over at the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. We got the first one here. Hitler defeated after opposition party holds up tiny signs on paddles. Because that is a very effective way to beat your enemy.
Yep.
Yeah, again, most places charge double for that kind of action.
most places do. Okay, and then we've got Democrats file articles of impeachment against little black boy with cancer.
That checks out.
Yeah, that's.
I wasn't aware that the Babylon Bee had started actually publishing news.
Well, here one of the things we've talked about is that, the reality, it's hard to know whether or not their stories are real or not because reality is just as weird.
Oh, yeah. A lot of Bee articles start off as satire and then like 3 weeks later, it's really happening.
And then this last one, I definitely believe we are going to be seeing. This is not from the Babylon Bee, but it's funny nonetheless. I read that eggs are overly expensive because bird flu is killing a ton of chickens. There's an obvious solution to this. Mike, you want to tell our audience what we're looking at here?
Oh, geez, I really want to say it, but I can't. So I'm just going to say there's a chicken wearing a mask.
There's a reason. I know what he wanted to say. I know what he wanted to say.
I do too.
Yes, it was a chicken wearing a mask, and
we've
I'm
known
not
Mike too long not to know.
We have known Mike too long to know, to not know what he was going to say or what he wanted to say. But Mike, you showed an impressive amount of restraint. Thank you.
It's a cock wearing protection.
Oh.
You can't lob it up to him a second time.
Hey, are you gendering that chicken?
Listen, I couldn't hold it any longer. I tried, but it was the first words out of my mouth. I was holding my breath. It was there. Also, I would note that the chicken there was at least 6 feet away from other chickens.
It was at least 6 feet away from other chickens. All right, folks. Well, that brings us to the end of the program. But before we go, we got one more thing we got to do. You know what it is. One more quick shout out to our sponsors.
Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Now you can get any caliber you desire, rifle or pistol, for your next AR rifle build, any length barrel you need. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you could take part in California's future today. And if you need field gear, tactical gear, web gear, fire, law enforcement, security, whatever it may be, get your bunch together, get your agency together, get your group together, and get on over to uscombatgear.com where you can get everything except the gun.
All right, folks. Well, that's going to be just about it. But before we go, I want to give Tom one more opportunity, an opportunity to let you guys know where you can follow him, read his stuff, stalk him, whatever you desire.
I appreciate that. Well, obviously, you can find me at bearingarms.com. You can also find me at townhall.com, where I do a couple of 2A stories there most days. My Substack is tomknighton.substack.com. My handle on X is at the Tom Knighton, and on YouTube I am at The Fourth Rail. That's my YouTube channel over there.
The Fourth Rail. Phenomenal. All right, folks. Well, that's going to be it for today. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Free for All Friday. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and if you get a chance, send a few downrange. Not at us, but for us. We'll holler at you later.